How's everyone doing today? Happy Thursday afternoon on this, looking out my window on this snowy Wisconsin day. What a change in weather conditions over the last week. A week ago today, it was 75 degrees, and I know that because I was deer hunting, and animals with fur coats do not like to walk around when it's 75 degrees. So deer hunting was very, very unsuccessful. But today, it's about 30 degrees, 35 degrees, and snowing pretty good. So get to run the snowblower perhaps later today. Thanks for jumping in on this earlier time. This is going to be fun. I wanted to do a couple things here, and I'll watch for questions as well. But I want to do a little bit of show and tell because there are a couple things going in the shop that I'm excited about. One is or are these things, and I'll talk you through what happened here. I'm making charcuterie boards. If you haven't seen these yet, charcuterie boards are what one would use if you were having friends over and you're going to serve some cheese and some crackers and some fruit and some salami or something. So you get everything cut up and then you display it on the charcuterie board. So it's pretty cool. I had a neat slab in the shop, soft maple, and let me point the camera down here and I'll kind of put the puzzle back together so you can see how this worked. All four of these came from one big slab. So what we had, well, yeah, basically the slab looked pretty much like this. So it was about 2.5 inches thick. And what I did initially was I cut it this way to separate it into two halves. Then I took each of those two halves to my bandsaw and I resawed them. Then I sent them through the planer in order to get 4 individual pieces. So what'll happen here, I just laid out handle holes on the end here. So I'll drill 1.25 inches with a Forstner bit and then connect the dots, cut in between. That'll get rounded over with a roundover bit. So that'll provide a place on the end of this to hold on to this as you're walking around. But what I like is, what I thought was so neat with the slab was the curve here. And then I didn't match the curve, but I introduced a curve here to go with this. So the live edge obviously is going to stay on this side, and then the edge I produced here. And then similarly on these, that live edge will stay. And then I've got the curve I cut there. And what I'm going to do on one end of each one is a little bit of epoxy, a little bit of resin work. To get some color going here. But I'm very happy with these, and it's always hard with the camera to get it to pick up curl. But these pieces of the maple have some pretty significant pop, some pretty significant curl to them. These pieces, because the branch was there, that I think you can see. Look at that sheen. Isn't that amazing? And that's off the planer. That hasn't been sanded yet. So when that's sanded and under finish, that's going to be really crazy cool. And then the other thing I'm stupid excited about is, see if I can do this. Maybe I can just do this from here. Yeah, I'm just going to walk over that way. I've been working on this cedar strip canoe for a long time. And it's a pretty neat, I'll bore you with the story again if you've already heard it, because it's a pretty neat story. Where am I? A friend of mine was moving from Minneapolis to Boston, and he called one day and said, I've got some stuff for you, bring your trailer. Before I move, I've got some stuff for you. So I went there with my trailer, and one of the things was this canoe. So he had already he'd cut the forms, put it on the strong back, that's the big spine down the middle here, and he had got the cedar strips. He had about 7 rows of cedar strips on it, and that's as far as he got. So it actually sat here for a long time. I was very intimidated by the prospect of working on this because I didn't know anything about it. And so I did a bunch of research, watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and about midsummer or so, I got going on it. And I will say it was a little intimidating coming up over this is called the chine, the curve of it right here. Coming up over the chine and getting those strips to fit was nerve-wracking and slow for me. Some of those strips took 45 minutes to get on, to get fitted and in place. So the way it works is everything, there's edge glue. There's glue on each edge holding it strip to strip to strip, and 4 staples that hold it against the forms. And then once the glue is dry, you take the staples out and start sanding. And that's where I'm at now. I do have to get you in closer just so I can show you some of the details on it, because I think it's pretty neat. Sorry for the motion sickness. All right. So out here, this is the chine. That curve right there is called the chine. So each strip has to get beveled so it lays up against the next strip, so that, because the strips are square when you start with them square edged. So that was pretty cool. But then I'm also really happy with this. What happens when you come together on the center is there's kind of a football shape in the middle there. I made a trip to a Rockler store and I picked up some walnut and some bloodwood and some bird's eye maple. So walnut here, and then bloodwood on the ends, and bird's eye maple makes up the center there. It looks neat now, and when that's wet with finish, I think it's going to really look amazing. The sanding process, it's slow. There's lots and lots of sanding. I have found this to be a wonderful tool for this. This is a new product from Arbortech, and it's their Power Carver. And in this case, I don't have a carving head in it, and I've got a Velcro, that's a hook and loop sanding disc. So I'm running 60 grit right now just to get everything leveled out, and I'll take it up to 120. But what's neat about this is this part acts as an outrigger, so that when I'm sanding, it's almost impossible to rock this and dig it in because of that support right there. And then, of course, that also provides dust collection, really good dust collection. So this would otherwise be a hugely messy process. And I've only tried these a little bit, but have you seen that new LINK headsets from ISOTunes? I've been using ISOTunes, their other product, the Pros, in my ears for a long time. But these will do the same thing. Hearing protection. What? Hearing protection. They Bluetooth to my phone. And so I can talk through these as well. I can answer the phone. I can listen to music. So I've been using those a little bit. All right. That's enough about me. Get you spun back around. Getting an accidental shop tour out of this. And then we'll look for preguntas. I have to spin my monitor back around so I can see what you can see. There we go. All right, pretty quiet on the, all quiet on the Western Front here. I'm going to do this. Standalone air filter. Jim is asking about. So I've got 2 of them, and so I'm not sure which one showed up when I moved around the shop. I've got the Stratus, or Strata, whatever it's called, from Axiom, and then I've also got a Powermatic one. And it's worth a look. I'm going to just take this with me. It's worth a look at these 2 because they've got slightly different attributes. Maybe we'll live from this side of the shop today. All right, this one is the Stratus. So what I like about this is the air intake is on the bottom. And that makes the dynamic of that makes a lot of sense to me, gravity being gravity. If I'm sanding here, stuff I'm missing is going to be airborne for a little bit, and then it's going to start to settle toward the floor. So this has the opportunity to pick it up. It's got 3 speeds. And my only real, it works great at filtering. My only real complaint is the noise level. So I'll do that again. It's 3 speeds. Low, medium, high. So the good news is it moves a lot of air. The bad news is in order to do that, it's kind of a noisy unit. But I have found, like especially when I'm doing lathe turning, I do bring a dust hose over to the machine when I'm sanding a bowl or whatever. But as stuff is moving down toward the floor, that's doing a really good job picking it up. In contrast, or in addition, I'm looking for something to set this other one on. I've got the Powermatic unit also. So this one you could hang from a ceiling if you wanted to get it in a permanent spot. I like the fact that I can move it around, and one day I'm going to make a wheeled cart about this high. This has got a couple things going for it. It's different from other filters. It's actually electrostatic. And once, in order to clean it, this front pops off, and then there's a filter inside there that I would blow out. But the way it grabs, it moves air, but part of the way it grabs dust is it puts a static charge on that filter, and that's what's grabbing the dust as it goes by. This one, a little quieter. That's high on this. Now, it's quieter, but it's also not moving quite as much air. I do like with this one, though, that it's got a timer. So very commonly, sanding the canoe, doing a bowl turning project, I'll set this on the appropriate time. I want it to run after I leave. So I'll set this for whatever, 4 hours, 8 hours, and it's still going at the end of the day when I walk out of the door. But it'll shut itself off over time. The Axiom one, I'll also leave that on, but then it's still going to be running when I get in here at whatever, 6 o'clock the next morning. So they both got good positive things going for them. This one is a little bit more portable. The Axiom's kind of heavy to move around. That would also benefit from a wheeled base. But they both do great work for me, and especially with sanding on the canoe right now, I'm running them both all the time. All right. The other thing I wanted to mention, if you look on the landing page, so not on Facebook, not on YouTube, on WWGOA.com, we're giving away a bunch of holiday project plans. And if you just scroll down a little bit, right below where you can leave your comments, there's a banner there that says, I think it says handmade for the holidays. I'm not there yet. Oh, quick and easy woodworking gift ideas. So if you click on that, you can there's 10 different projects in there. And this is certainly the time of year when we're looking for things to make, right? To give away for Christmas. So have a look at that stuff. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling to see. I want to make sure I don't miss somebody. John says he's working on ornaments with family names. That's a great idea. So how are you doing that? Are you scroll sawing them? Are you laser engraving them? Are you maybe cutting them out, handwriting them? My writing is so bad I couldn't do that. I did that, let's see, I think it was either last Christmas or the Christmas before. I found, I have like 8 or 10 nieces and nephews. So I talked to their parents and found out what's important to them. Which one likes dogs? Which one weightlifts a lot? Which one, whatever. And so then on the CNC, I cut ornaments from 1/8-inch Baltic birch in the shape of the thing. So there was a treble clef for the niece or nephew who was very musically oriented. There was a dumbbell for the one who works out all the time, which is not, don't misinterpret the dumbbell part. So that was fun. How long did it take for you to make the canoe? Could a beginner make it? What do I need to master in order to accomplish that? Well, I don't know how long it took me because I'm still doing it. Lots and lots and lots of hours, and I don't know what I'm doing. So I've done a lot of woodworking, but I've never done this. And this is something, I guess, like a lot of topics today, there are 11 billion books available. There are also 11 billion videos available on YouTube. And that's really before I started working on the cedar strips. I spent a lot of time looking at different YouTube videos to see how people were going about this. So could a beginner do it? I think so. You know, it's don't look at the big picture because I got hung up for a long time looking at the whole scheme of making the canoe and being so intimidated, I couldn't take the first step forward. Once I started to break it down, okay, I got to do the strips, then I got to sand, then I got to resin it, fiberglass it, then I flip it over, do the same to the inside. Then it became more manageable in my head. But there are lots and lots and lots of hours in this. Even looking at it the way it is right now, I'm going to guess I've got probably 2 hours or more of sanding left to do before I can even start thinking about the epoxy part. So it's a very labor intensive process. Somebody else is making a prayer kneeler for a friend's church. Oh, that's an interesting project, a prayer kneeler. D says, thanks for all you do. I'm learning tons. Thanks for watching. How do you deal with termites and fresh cut wood you want to use to turn a bowl? Boy, I don't know. I've never had, I'm a little buggy sometimes, but I've never actually had an infestation. I mean, an insecticide seems like a logical choice, but then I would hate to put that on the lathe and get all of that airborne because it's going to be bad for you. I think this is a question somebody that knows more than me needs to answer. Heat would probably take care of it, but I don't know how much heat for how long it would take. Somebody somewhere has cracked this nut. Somebody somewhere has figured this out and can give you way better information than I can. I'm sure there's a solution for this. It's going to be one or the other or both. So either insecticide or heat, I think is going to take care of it. Keith is working on 9 clocks. Wow, what a timely gift. And how are you so far ahead already, Keith? It's not even November 15th yet, right? And you're already working on Christmas gifts. I will be last minuting a bunch of stuff as always, frenetically trying to get stuff done. Joe says, do you have recommendations on router bit sets? Boy, there's brand or pieces. I mean, in pieces like cutter profiles, that's a really big. It depends. So CNC or joinery or just kind of basic woodworking. In a basic woodworking category, I'd want a roundover bit, probably a couple different sizes, 1/4 and 3/8. I would want straight bit, probably a 1/4 inch and maybe a 3/8 diameter straight bit. A chamfer cutter, 45-degree chamfer, rabbiting bit. What is that? 5 or 6 different profiles there. CNC, spiral upcut, ball nose, a couple different sizes of end mills, spiral upcuts. Same with the ball nose, couple different sizes of those. That would get you pretty far. And in the world of brands, man, there's a lot of good stuff. I've had great luck with, I'm afraid I'll leave somebody out, Whiteside, Freud, Amana, CMT. Who else do I have in here? I don't know. I'm afraid I'll miss somebody. Jonathan says, the name of the tool you have attached to the vacuum port. So that is, Arbortech is the brand. And I'm gonna look in the tool case quick. I'm gonna get the name of the tool wrong if I don't look it up. It's their something. Power carving unit. is what this is called. So this is, there's a lot of cool stuff going on here. It's got, like I said, it's a hook and loop. It's a Velcro sanding pad in there right now. And then the way this works, I'm gonna get closer. On this head, on this shroud, it's called their leveling shroud. When I turn this that way or that way, it exposes more or less of the whatever is in there. So as I'm sanding, that's helping me, it's controlling the relationship between this part of the shroud and the sandpaper, which is then controlling how much material I'm taking off and reducing its likelihood that it's gonna dig on me. But maybe even more better, when I run the turbo plane in there, then that's given me the opportunity, well, same premise, it's letting me level stuff off. So as an example, this is a piece of box elder I just started working on a little bit ago. And it was right off the chainsaw when I started with it. So the first thing I did is I used that leveling shroud just to get the top relatively flat. And then when it comes time to do this part, when you want to turn this into a tray or a bowl and you're going to start dishing, the leveling shroud would get in the way, because as you're starting to, when you want to cut in, that's going to prevent that. So that comes off, and then this one goes on, and see it's how it's cut away on that side. That's going to let you get down in there and hollow. And this also works with the sanding head or with the turbo plane. So Arbortech Power Carving unit is what the device is. And also it's variable speed, which I like. I've used that a couple times at sanding on the canoe, where I just want to have better control and make sure I don't take too much material off. So by slowing down the RPM, it gives me way better control on the sanding. It's been, that's really been, in general, it's been a blast to use. I've got a couple bowls and trays here I've made. I'm pointing to the box elder one, by just free form carving them like that. And then on the canoe, it's been indispensable, really, really, really fast. Without feeling like, really fast without feeling like I don't have control. Like, I wouldn't want to just put 60 grit sandpaper on an angle grinder and start going after this, because the cedar's only a 1/4 inch thick to start with. So if you hung up in one spot too long on the edge of a disc, on the edge of a 60 grit disc, it would it would be a really bad day if suddenly you were looking through a hole at the inside of the canoe. That would be horrible. So John says he is scroll sawing a heart shape, then wood burning names. Wow, that's cool. And painting a heart in the middle. That's neat. I'm horrible at wood burning. I just don't have the control. Jim says, have you had the opportunity to use Festool's air filter system? Nope. Heiler, I'm making boxes for my mother's cremains. Carving the design and words is time consuming. I'm worried about sealing it down the road. Any tips? My finish recipe, and there's a video on this on GOA, a base coat of shellac and a top coat of water-based polyurethane. For something like a cremains box, really shellac would be fine. Just shellac alone would be fine. Even just a rattle can, an aerosol can of lacquer off the shelf at a home center would be great. So that'd be a pretty simple part of that. Danny says on the charcuterie board, and it's spelled correctly, which is a challenge. Charcuterie is a tough word to say, and it's a tough word to spell. How do you finish it? Just wipe clean kind of finishing product. I'm looking for and you didn't miss it because I didn't mention it. On these, I'm going to use Odies oil. Let me see if it is readily available in my finishing cabinet. I know I don't have to own it. I know I already ordered it and it's here. And if I don't see it right away, I'll just come back. Yeah, and there are too many products in there, and I don't want to spend 10 minutes looking for it. So I'm going to do epoxy on an end, and I'm going to come back to that concept. And then the rest, the wooden components, are going to get sealed with Odies oil. And Odies oil is expensive, but a little dab goes a really long way. Do not overuse it when you use it. And then what I wanted to say about the resin is that, remember, you shouldn't, once you add pigment to resin, which I'll be doing on these, it's no longer food safe. So you want to think about, part of the reason those boards are as long as they are is if I burn up a 6-inch end of the board by doing a cool epoxy pattern there, those are 6 inches I can't put food on, or not. Like, you wouldn't want to put cut up apples or something on there. Like, if it's nuts and then you're going to crack the husk off, you'd be okay. All right. And then additionally, you shouldn't cut on the resin. So it's a pretty common approach that people will make a cutting board and then they'll put epoxy on a corner of it to decorate it. That's cool. But you don't want to be cutting on that part of the cutting. You don't want to cut on the resin, the epoxy part of the cutting board, because you'll leave knife cuts in the resin, and maybe you're cutting some of it free and it's going to migrate into your food, which you don't want either. So Odies oil for finish. And then as you're laying out your resin part of that, keep in mind, you don't want resin under the food parts. What is the most complex woodworking project you ever worked on? I don't know. There's probably a handful that would be in that category. I built a 15-foot boat once, 15-foot rowboat, fishing boat, that was capable. It was robust enough. It would take a 25 horse outboard when it was done. And it wasn't shiplap. That was what's called stitch and glue. So it's all marine plywood, but there are just lots of curves, lots going on. It was the first time I ever worked with fiberglass. I did a king size headboard once that was all raised panels. The headboard was made up of 5 individual raised panels, and getting the grain to flow. It was really cool. It was very interesting. It was all in oak, but it was complicated, and the top of the headboard was curved. So on the raised panels, and this was, at that time, I wasn't drawing stuff on SketchUp. I was just building it. So getting the top of panel number 1 to match just that portion of the curve on the top rail. And then panel number 2 had a different segment of the curve. The middle panel was convex because it had the center of the curve. And then same going down the other side. So that was pretty complicated. When I ran a commercial cabinet shop for 4 years, I was the production manager, and we built all the Banana Republic stores in the country, which were cherry cabinets, all cherry fixtures. And there was a lot of stuff going there. The complexity being cool looking stuff that we also had to make quickly so that we were making money on it. But that was pretty complicated stuff. It was all quarter sawn. Everything was quarter sawn cherry. So Hyler is asking again on the question, or on the finishing. I've never had to waterproof wood before. I've tried to use as few synthetic chemicals as possible. Any recommendations? Well, I don't know what you mean by waterproofing on the box. So then we might be out of my element here. Stuff like spar varnish is about as waterproof as it gets. I mean, that's spar is from spars on boats. That's what they use on wooden components on sailboats. So that would certainly make it very, very waterproof, but it's not going to be, you're not going to avoid petrochemicals in that. So I would then go to I would go to a finishing specialty store, Sherwin-Williams, Hirschfield's, and ask them if you want to stay with a natural finish but have it completely waterproof, then you need somebody that knows more about finishing than me. Sean asks, what software do you use to help with your woodworking? SketchUp is amazing. I should have learned it a long time ago. I have built lots of stuff by just kind of picturing it in my head, maybe make a pencil sketch, but generally I just jump in. And a lot of times when I'm done, I'm like, oh, that scale on the drawers could have been better, or the proportions could have been better on the legs, or whatever it is. And then I learned to do SketchUp, and that was huge. So pretty much everything I build now, I build in SketchUp first. And then on sheet optimization, I use Bridgewood Design is the company. Cut List Plus is the specific software. So if I'm doing lots and lots and lots of cabinets, you put all the parts in there and press the go button, and it lays out all those parts for you on 4x8 sheets to optimize your yield. How many, use as few sheets as possible. And so SketchUp gets used all the time. And then, like I said, anytime I'm doing a bigger cabinet job, that stuff goes into Cut List. James Hicks says, I'm making a bird table for my father-in-law. What's a good finish? I don't know what a bird table is. I mean, is it? Well, I don't know. If you're still on, tell me what a bird table is. But again, with finish, I always qualify or disqualify myself by saying I have sprayed gallons of lacquer in my woodworking life, and that's still water-based polyurethane, water-based lacquer are my top coats of finish. And in the whole world of like French polish and rub-on oils and tongue oil versus Rubio, or there's a lot out there I don't know. It's I am not honestly a great finishing resource. What sealer is best for a laminated workbench? So this is another, we're all about finishing today, and this one I actually can't answer. On workbenches, I actually just got a can of this stuff. Let me run and get it. I like an oil on workbenches. So this is Watco Natural, and the reason for this is if I put something like a polyurethane or a lacquer on a bench, and then I'm pounding on it, and you've got a layer of finish, a hard layer of finish. With Watco, with oils, and this could be boiled linseed oil, it could be Watco Danish oil, it could be tongue oil. You've got a more flexible surface there, and it's very, very easy to rejuvenate. So my big workbench is a great example of this. The big 4x8 bench I'm usually standing by, Baltic birch top, and sealed with oil. And when it starts to get a little gross looking, and I was just looking at it today and it's ready for this step, when it starts to get a little icky looking, I'll sand it down and just put on another coat of oil. So one of the benefits to oil is that it's very easy to refresh the finish. So when my children were still working for me, Ginny and George, that was something every few months I'd have them go over that with a random orbit sander and re-oil the whole thing. And it's so because they've been gone for a while, my bench has been neglected. But yeah, I'm a big fan of oils for workbench tops. Is Odies Oil tongue oil base? I don't know. I don't know what its main component is. Favorite drill brand? Looking at my drill case, I've got Ryobi Festool, Rigid, Bosch, Milwaukee. Looking at my other drill case, I think that's everybody. None of which is a favorite. I'm trying more to maybe get on a platform, a battery platform, and stay there, but I'm not very good at that. I'm guilty of having whatever I just mentioned, 5 different chargers because I've got 5 different brands. So all of those have served me well. I don't understand the bottom of the canoe with the walnut. It's bloodwood. Will it be visible to the rower? Is it just about you as a carpenter and artist? Yeah, it's everything we can see here, you can see from the inside of the boat. So that exact same pattern, the fish will appreciate because it's on the bottom of the boat. But then also sitting in the canoe, when you look down, that football is also the center of the boat on the inside. Does polyurethane finish eliminate wood movement for moisture content? No, 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 no. So it's this is a great question. Even if you seal 6 sides, so face, edge, end, wood is always still going to move. There's no Ziploc bag of finish that you can put a piece of wood in that will prevent movement. Oh, bird table, a garden ornament, platform on a stand for birds to feed off of, made of pine. Huh. So it's going to live outside. I have used Thompson's water seal on a lot of my cedar Adirondack chairs. So we're in the same category there. They're both softwoods, open grain, porous. Has to be rejuvenated every year. And I think platform on a stand. So what I'm stewing on now is, like, if one just puts birdseed on there, can a finish migrate from the table into the birdseed, which we wouldn't want. Typically, with anything that's VOCs, volatile organic content, 30 days after it's put on, you're pretty safe. If you're choosing to use, if you go with something like Thompson's water seal, and you are in fact laying birdseed right on top of that thing, I would call that company and say, this is what I'm doing. I don't want to kill birds. Is this going to be okay? But as far as an outdoor finish goes, that would work well. A deck stain, anything that would seal up a deck would be good. But again, the same question. If you go with a deck stain, I would call the manufacturer and make sure you're not going to migrate. Get it? Migrate? Anything from the finish into the birdseed. All right, scrolling. And while I'm looking at questions, I'll do a commercial timeout again. Remember, just a little bit below the chat roll where you're posting your questions. Again, not on Facebook, not on YouTube, but on GOA.com. If you want to get these 10 free plans for holiday gifts, go to WWGOA.com, get on the live there, and if you scroll down to right there where my finger is, click on that, and that'll give you access to that download so you can get to those 10 plans. All right. You want to, we have a little time. Let's, I am going to walk and talk at the same time. No, I'm going to see if I can show you this turboplane a little bit. It has been so much fun to work with. So I'm backing the sander out. And I'm going to take this off because what I want to do for you is run it on the inside of that box elder that I'm working on. And remember, the leveling shroud is for leveling, like I'm doing over here. And the other shroud, this shroud, is for hollowing. It's a neat thing with this. I turn a lot of bowls, but what I like about this is it's very free form. So like with bowls, I do let the wood talk to me, you know. I look at it and see where is my best bowl going to come out of that. But you're making it round. So whatever the shape is you're starting with, you're going to make it round. With this, you can really let the wood talk to you. And this piece of box elder crotch is a great example, because I don't have to worry about cutting it round. I can just leave it the shape it is. And I think that's a very cool aspect to this. Sorry, I'm looking for the correct components to get this on here right. Starting with that one. And that. I should have thought of this ahead of time. There we go. I had the wrong ring in there. So yeah, it's neat. I think it'd be really fun for anybody who's more artistic than I am. They would really enjoy messing with this. All right. We'll see how this goes. Normally, I've got a set of the Triton jaws, and normally that's what I do is I grip it in the jaws. But we'll see if we can get this to fly for you. Or not fly is actually the point, right? All right. And this is handy. I can put my, good thing I have hearing protection right here. So I'm going to use primarily my 2 o'clock position of that disc to pull that through and cut. So once you get going pretty fast, so it's, when it caught on me there once or twice, that's from getting around on the wrong side of the wheel. If you stay up in that 2 o'clock position, then you could see when I was doing that correctly, it fed much better across the box elder there. And then the next step would be when I've got that completely hollowed out, I would take the turbo plane back off and put the disc back on, and then basically do the same process, and I could sand the inside of that as well. This is a pretty common way for people to make chair seats. You can imagine when you're scooping out the I don't know, the butt recesses, whatever they're officially called. it's a very similar form of what I was just doing right there. And the other thing that's cool with the turbo plane in particular as a cutter is that it doesn't have any cutters right on its edge. So what that allows you to do, I'll show you what I mean. Right there, the edge of this is blank. The cutters are down here and the edge is blank. So think of that like a flush trim router bit or a pattern style router bit. If you create a template, you can allow that edge to ride the pattern, ride the template, and then the cutter will follow that. The cutter will do whatever you're telling it to do by following the template. So that's a neat thing, especially on something like, I wouldn't need to do it here where I'm freeform in the box elder, but doing those scoops on a chair seat, you'd want to template that so that they all came out the same. So that's a very cool aspect of the turbo plane. Oops. All right, well, it looks like I have run you out of questions. I'm going to scroll quickly one more time to make sure. Did I miss anybody? Sandy says, for those of us in California that can't get mineral spirits, is paint thinner the best alternative? Yep. Yep. All right. Well, we're going to close out and let's see. I won't see you for a while. So have a really good Thanksgiving. I will see you sometime in December and get rolling on those gifts because Santa Claus is coming. So Katie, you can take us out and see you folks.